Today, I have a special challenge for you guys. Your task is to predict the mistake that was made in each of these 6 positions. Here's position number 1. Here's position number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5, and number 6. And in each of these positions, the player who was making the next move made a critical mistake. Now, I'm not talking about an obvious blunder like queen takes pawn. Why was that a mistake? Oh, because you lose the queen. No. I'm talking about moves that looked good, moves that the player thought were good, but they weren't for a particular reason. That's what you have to figure out. What move did they play and why was it bad? If anybody can solve all 6 of these, please let me know in the comments because I would be very impressed. And even if you can't solve the blundering, if you can't find the blundering move, that's okay. You're going to appreciate how these games ended because they're all really, really fascinating. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this. Now, very briefly, I want to show you how do we end up in this position so you can kind of get a feel for the game. Okay, the queen comes out with check, takes the pawn, e4, e5. The knight comes out, d6 to defend. Knight jumps into d5. This is where we find ourselves, where black makes the blunder. What move did black play? Well, if you had a chance to look at that, the move that was played is knight to e7. And knight to e7 looks like a pretty normal move. I mean, you're developing a piece, you're putting pressure on the knight on d5. Like, how could this be bad for black? Well, you guys tell me. What is the move here that white played that totally shocked black? If you had a chance to look at that, the move is b4, attacking the queen. And if you look carefully, the queen can't take that. You can't go there because the knight, because the bishop, because the bishop, because the pawn, because the knight, because the knight. You can't move your queen anywhere except right here. This is the only square. You say, okay, fine, I'll move my queen to c6. What's the big deal? Well, white had another amazing move. You had a chance to look at that. The move is bishop to b5, which pins the queen. And some of you are thinking, but wait a second, Nelson, the bishop's undefended. I'm just going to take that. But then you walk into the fork and you lose your queen either way. You either lose it for the bishop or you lose it for the knight. There's no way around that. And the queen is gone. A queen trap on move 7. The queen gets trapped. Absolutely incredible. You move here, you lose the queen. Wow. Let's go on to game number 2. Congratulations if you solved that one. Okay, this one, the game is very short, so don't worry. It's not going to take long. d4, knight f6, knight to d2. A bit of an interesting move. Not usually a move that you'll see. e5 takes. And here we go. On move 3, white has a decision to make, and they chose wrongly. What do you think white played in this position? You had a chance to look at that. The move that was played is h3. Now, h3 looks like a pretty normal move. You're attacking the knight. You want it to take here. Then you can develop your pieces and go on with the game, right? So what do you think black played in this position? There's only one good move. You had a chance to look at that. The move that they played is knight to e3. And by the way, if you said knight takes f2, it's not quite that good because after the queen comes out, you just block it. And yeah, you can throw in a check, but who cares? You just block it. Black has no more tricks, okay? But back to the game. Knight to e3 traps white's queen. The queen is totally trapped. You can't move it. And now if you take, guess what? This is checkmate. Game is over. Just like that. Absolutely incredible. On move number 4, white loses the game, essentially. These are strong players. Playing normal moves, the game is just over. Absolutely incredible. Congratulations. Remember, let me know in the comments how you're doing so far. All right, let's jump to the next one. Let's see how we ended up in this position. Again, it won't take very long. e4, e6, knight to d2. Nothing crazy here. Takes, and that's it. We're at the position. What move could white possibly play here that was a blunder? You had a chance to look at that. The move is knight to e2. And knight to e2 actually looks like a pretty logical move. I mean, you have this nice symmetrical position. You've used your center pawns. You're developing your pieces. You're following the rule of knights before bishops. Everything that white is doing seems to be looking pretty normal. So what could have possibly gone wrong here? What did black play next? You had a chance to look at that. The move is queen to b6. And queen to b6 does something very interesting. It threatens checkmate. And if you start to look around, what you'll notice is, wait a second, how do I stop checkmate? You can't use your queen to help, it's stuck. You can't move this bishop, it's stuck, so you can't castle. You can't defend that, unless you want to go here and just lose a knight. If you move it, that's checkmate. And so what ends up happening is the only thing you can do is play knight to d4 to try to block it to then allow your bishop to come out, and you just have to give up a piece for free. And you're already in a losing position. That simple. Knight to e2 was the big mistake because you have no way to deal with this checkmate threat. I mean, imagine getting checkmated by a bishop on move, what is it, move 7. Incredible stuff, right? Let's go to the next one. That's halfway. We have 3 more games to go. All right. Congratulations if you're solving these, by the way. These are not easy. Okay. Now, what's interesting about this game, and I'm going to show it to you, but this game was a correspondence game. And if you don't know what that means, correspondence chess is when they would mail the moves back and forth, which means you essentially had unlimited time to analyze the position. Like you could just sit there for like 5 hours thinking about stuff, moving the pieces around, like to come up with a legitimate move. Like that was all fair game in a correspondence, match. So it's incredible to me that in this position, or in this game, the mistake that we see, right, in a correspondence game. So let's see, how do we end up here? D4, knight of 6, C4. Okay, we get the Budapest Gambit. Knight comes in. A3, this is a good move because there's a lot of tricks in this opening where the bishop is able to come here. And so A3 is one of the better moves because you immediately shut down all of the tricks that Black's has, or at least that's what White thought they were doing, right? D6, takes, and now what do you think White played that was a critical blunder? If you had a chance to look at that, the move is G3. And G3 looks pretty normal. I mean, you've already dealt with all the shenanigans over here. Now you're just going to fianchetto and hit the knight, and the game's going to go on. What did White miss? What did Black play next? You had a chance to look at that. The move is knight takes F2. Brilliant move. It's a fork. So you're about to lose something unless you take the knight, which if they take the knight, then what happens next? That's correct. Bishop takes G3 check. And now you lose your queen. And there's really no way around that. It's just a bad position. So on move 6 in a correspondence game, White blunders and the game is basically over. Absolutely incredible. All right, we have 2 more. Let's jump to the next position. All right, let me show you how we ended up in this one. E4, E5, the bishop comes out, the knight comes out. This is pretty common. When they put the knight here, you can take and then fork the pieces, so that's a very good move. You can see it's a book move, nothing wrong there. This is one option for White. They could also take the knight. They decide to go this way, and usually D5 is played here straight away, but in this case, Black decides to play knight C6 first, saving D5 for later. White plays queen to F3, and here, Black blunders. What do you think they played? If you had a chance to look at that, the move that was played in the game was king to G8. And this is a huge mistake because you're trapping the king and you're allowing White a very nice follow-up. What is the follow-up? If you had a chance to look at that, the move is knight to G5. Now, hopefully you didn't say check, because even though it looks like a cool check, you just play D5 and you're in good shape, right? The move is knight to G5. And this is an incredible move because there's nothing defending the knight. And you're just putting it there for Black to take. Why? Because if you take that knight, this is simply checkmate immediately. Look at that. What a nasty checkmate, right? Just checkmate. But if you don't take the knight, you now have to stop checkmate here. And how do you do that? Well, you can't use your bishop. You can't use your rook. Well, how do you do it? Well, you could move your queen. Let's just say queen F6 or queen E7. But then it allows White the other follow-up. That's correct. Queen to D5 check. And then you have to give up the queen. If you go here, it's checkmate. There's just nothing else to do. The only way to not lose immediately is to go here, but that's obviously pretty bad. Wow. Okay, let's go. Last position, guys. If you're 5 out of 5 right now, I'm already super impressed, but let's see if you can keep this streak alive here. Okay, number 6. Let's see how we ended up here. E4, D6, D4, knight D7. A bit of a weird move, but still a book move. G6, knight to F3, and here Black blundered. What move do you think was played? If you had a chance to look at that, the move is bishop to G7, which looks like a pretty normal move. I mean, you want to get the bishop out, right? You want to develop. Why not? What do you think White's follow-up was? That's correct. Bishop takes F7 check. And I mean, you don't have to take it. You could play king F8 and just have a terrible position. Or you could take it like what was played in the game and allow White's follow-up. If you'd like to pause, what do you think White played next? That's correct. Knight to g5 check. And black has a serious problem here. Because if you go back to f8, you're going to get forked. And you could say goodbye to your queen. If you go back to e8, your queen's going to get trapped. And again, you could say goodbye to your queen. And the only other move you could play is king to f6. In which case, the game is over from checkmate. So, however you look at it, it's over. It's over. Just like that. So, congratulations, by the way. If you saw all 6 of these blunders, please let me know how many out of 6 you got correct. I would be very interested to see if anybody got them all. Hopefully, you learned a thing or two about stuff to not do and things to look out for. And by the way, all of these came from a book, The 1000 Best Short Games of Chess, which I will be featuring more on this channel because I've been having a lot of fun going through some of these games. Shout out to one of my subscribers who recommended that book. I don't remember their name at the moment, but you know who you are, and I appreciate you for saying that. Hope you guys enjoyed this. Again, let me know how you did, and there will be more challenges like this, so make sure you subscribe if you're interested in that. Thank you guys. Stay sharp, play smart, and take care.